Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for BroadwayWorld. The National Theatre's production of Simon Stevens' Olivier Award-winning play, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, will open on October 5th at the Barrymore Theatre under the direction of Tony Award winner Marianne Elliott. And I caught up with the company during a break in rehearsal. First of all, congratulations. You're going to make your Broadway debut. What is going through your mind?
It's crazy, I don't think it's really sunk in, but it's literally a dream come true. It's amazing. I'm very excited. There's lots of work to do, but I'm excited and can't wait to do it. Yeah.
Talk about your audition for Marianne, what that whole process was like for you.
It was awesome. I got in the room, actually, because I was still at school, didn't have representation or anything, so I got in the room through a friend, Mark Junek, who was a reader in the room. I came in, my first audition was for Cindy Tolan and Daniel Swee. They're amazing, and they really set like a very comfortable and warm audition room, which was like such a treat. And I remember working on that and like being on the floor and doing, different kinds of movements and the text as well, which is challenging but so beautiful. It's such an amazing character. It was the first time I'd really tried to inhabit him, so it was a very memorable experience. And then I auditioned with Marianne, and that was awesome. She's lovely, and then of course I did like a big movement round of audition with Stephen Hoggett, which was really intense, but a lot of fun. And then I did one more after that, and Daniel Swee called me up, and boom.
Okay, so when you got that call, where were you and how did you react?
I was actually in Juilliard. I was at school, and I've been directing my own adaptation of Clockwork Orange as like a stage adaptation with people from Juilliard, musicians, dancers, actors, and we were on like a 10-minute break, and I got a call. I had a missed call. One of my castmates, Gillis, was like, "You should probably go and check what that is." So I ran out, took the call, and Daniel told me. It's pretty crazy. I don't think I screamed. I think there was kind of a stunned silence. So it's like, yeah.
So talk about the roles so far. Did you know the book well before going into this?
I didn't know it that well. I'd read it when I was actually Christopher's age, when I was 15. I read it and it really spoke to me. It's a very beautiful, otherworldly kind of way of looking at things, and very unique lens to look through, but also so relatable. And I think that's why it's so popular, the book and the play, is because you can really empathize with him. So yeah, I didn't know it extensively, but then of course when I started auditioning, I started reading it again and again. And
there are so many beautiful themes, but the big one, of course, is family.
Yes, yeah. It's a family drama, and it's about a struggling family, and there are, in some ways, an unusual family, but in many, many ways, just I think every person on the planet, everyone has a family. Everyone will be able to relate to it.
So what was this first week been like for you so far?
It's been amazing. I had nerves, because I got the part, and there was like a stretch of time where I just had time to prepare, and I was floating through the void. So it was great just to get in and meet people and actually start working under Marianne's leadership, which is incredible. And just meeting my cast, my family, and getting to know each other and reading through the play and picking up, just learning how complex it is, basically how much work we all have to do to really bring it to life.
Broadway debuts are really special. I've been doing this for over 25 years, so I've spoken to many, many people who are standing in your shoes. They're so special. Do you have any idea what it's going to be like for you? Have people told you what your debut is going to be like?
No. I don't know. Yeah, no, not really. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. I'm just going to see what happens, put the work in, and enjoy it. And it's to create an amazing piece of theatre with amazing artists is a dream, and it's really an ensemble piece. So I'm just going to focus on the work and bringing the beautiful character to life and have the experience. I have no idea what to expect.
Well, congratulations. Tell me how this all came about for you, Jan.
You know, it was the classic story. My agent called me and said that she'd read this amazing script and that she thought there was a really good part for me. I read it. I was completely blown away. And I came out and auditioned and got the part. So I was absolutely thrilled.
So I know it's very early in the rehearsal process. Tell me about the role you're going to play and what you admire about him and who he's going to be.
Yeah, I admire a lot of things about him, actually. The story centers around Christopher, a 15-year-old boy who's kind of a brilliant mathematical mind, but he has some challenges with social interactions. And I am a single father when the play begins, and so I'm left to manage the house and manage the parenting role alone. And I'm a plumber by trade. And the play deals with there's such a rich and balanced kind of humanity to all the characters. Everybody has a great story in and of themselves, and of course this is all within an extraordinarily inventive theatrical package. So it's great that it has both great storytelling and also really exciting theatrical events.
And tell me what you love the most about Simon's writing.
Well, Simon is the adapter, and it's very unusual. I've done several adaptations of novels before, and it's a very tricky business to get a theater audience to experience what a writer might have intended for a reader to experience. And Simon and Marianne have created this invention all of their own based on this amazing novel. And I just feel like Simon's adaptation it creates a world all its own. As I said before, the characters are all rich and balanced and very dynamic, and it deals with the time shifting very effortlessly. And after all, it is a story about a boy who's writing a book, and so that's a big part of it as well. It's very rich.
What are you looking forward to the most? I mean, this has won all these Olivier Awards in London. What you're looking forward to the most with bringing this show to Broadway?
I just can't wait to share it with people. I'm just looking forward to hearing people's response to it and getting to have that experience of sharing it with them.
How did this show come about for you?
Well, of course I had heard about it and the book and the exciting, amazing production in London. But then I just got a call to audition, and I was thrilled. And I came in, met Marianne, and got the part. So the old-fashioned way, I guess.
Marianne, she's such a beautiful director, doing War Horse and everything else. When you met with her in audition, what did you take away from that, meeting her?
Well, you could tell right away that she understood actors, and she understood how actors work, and the way that we need to connect to the material, and why that's important. I mean, I think the thing that I'm learning even more and more as we go into rehearsal, but it was clearly true in the audition, is that even though this show is incredibly spectacular looking and it's a beautiful, thrilling, magical evening visually, it really is a story about people and how people connect with each other and the ways that it's difficult in families. It's at its core, it's a real family story told with in a beautiful, magical way, and I think that's because of her.
Now, who do you play? Talk about the role you're going to take on.
I play Judy, who is Christopher's mother. Christopher is the center of the play, and he's a brilliant and challenging young man who has a brilliant mind but difficulty navigating the world. And so I'm his mother, who's been raising this complicated person and all that comes with it, the good and the bad, and how trying to understand him and trying to understand myself.
And there's a lot of themes that run throughout the play.
Yes, to me right now, one of the biggest ones is family. I mean, also, I think how we can all relate and understand each other. And we human beings are all operating on our own tracks, and then we take these moments in our lives, when the theater is one of them, where we attempt to imagine what is in someone else's mind, or what if I were that person. And I think if you're the mother of an exceptional and difficult person, then you have to figure out some way to do that. And I think this production is really fantastic because it kind of does it for you. You enter into Christopher's mind, and so if you've ever been curious what it's like to be in the mind of someone else, then you should definitely come see the show, because I think that's what you'll get a glimpse of.
You know, I was just telling you, I am fascinated by this book and this play. Tell me your take on everything.
Well, when I heard they were first doing it in London, I thought, no, there's no way you can get this off the page and make it as riveting. And yet, she did. And it is just an amazing story of Christopher. And the lovely thing is she has managed to make you, the audience, see the entire world through his eyes. You take his journey through this play. And it is funny, and it's heart-thumping, and it is just a thrilling story. I just can't wait to get at it. So.
Who do you play?
I play Mrs. Alexander, who lives across the street. And what I love about my role is she really doesn't have an agenda. She's not trying to teach him. She's not stressed out as the parents obviously would be. She's just a lonely lady who lives across the street who wants to talk to him. And she doesn't see the barriers. She just talks and asks him about himself and invites him to tea. And he surprises himself by saying, okay. And so off we go from there. But it's she very much wants to have more of a social connection with people, and I think she's very much on her own. So she initiates all this, and he seems to respond a bit to it. So, yeah.
So I know this is like your third day. Like I think you started Monday, or is this your fourth day?
Well, it's not my fourth day because the nuclear family worked on it, and I thought that was such a smart decision because the play moves so quickly that for them to have several days to themselves to kind of talk about relationships, talk about, how things are between them, and, teacher to parent, parent to child, so on and so forth, that's really good. I start on Monday, so I'm the newbie, as are a couple of other of us. So.
Oh, so you start next Monday?
Yeah, this coming Monday, yeah.
Oh, I'm fascinated by this. But when you met Marianne and you auditioned for her, tell me what you took away from her and what she wants to bring to this.
She is just an incredibly focused, calming individual, very articulate, very thoughtful. She makes you feel in an audition as if you're the only person she wanted to see, which is no small feat. I've just heard such amazing things about her, and so I'm just thrilled to be part of this and to be working with her finally. So.
I read the play, I read the book, I cannot wait to see this. What has the whole experience been like for you so far?
So far, well, we've had about 4 days in the room. There are a few of us that came in and did a little bit of early work, and it's been so excited. Marianne Elliott is just a fantastically inspiring person. She makes a really nice, great sort of safe room for us all to just make a big fat mess until we figure out what we're doing, and to embark on this story. I mean, it's such a fantastic story, this fantastic mystery / home drama, and completely unique in the way that it's staged. But also the fact that it's so close to home for everybody. There's this incredible feeling of being completely close to home because it's about a family. And, ultimately we're all part of that. So, yeah.
So tell me who you play.
I play Siobhan, who is Christopher's teacher. And she works at a school he's been at for a few years. And she is the one that really knows him very well in terms of how to get inside his head and how to give him tools to experience the world and to relate to people and to relate to the outside world in a way that works for him. And in the first half, you see her. I mean, Simon Stevens, who has adapted the novel, has put her in the play in a much broader way than she is in the book. In the book you just hear about her, and in the play she's right there having scenes with him, and later on as the story develops and he goes on a journey, a real physical journey, she appears in a more amorphous way to give him support, because the things he's learned from her are really good coping skills about the world. And you could say that she, in some ways she knows him the best in terms of who he is, but unlike his parents who know him from a deep place of love, but perhaps aren't as skilled in just communing with him. She has that figure, and she takes on this. There's a sort of blurred line between a mother figure and a great voice in his head who's helping him navigate.
So you started rehearsals Monday?
Yeah, we did, and everybody comes on next Monday. Excuse me, and that's when we start our boot camp.
Because I'm fascinated that it's sort of like the nuclear family was put together first to sort of figure it all out, then the other characters will be brought in, which makes so much sense.
It does. It makes sense to sort of just get a little head start on that, and then so we've got some things percolating in our heads for a few days. Yeah, it's very helpful. It's lucky.
So what was Monday like when Marianne sort of described the whole look of the show and everything? I mean, what were you thinking?
Well, she hasn't done an official version of that because she'll do that when everybody's there. But along the way, she'll drop in. She'll say, well, this is where Christopher scuttles up the wall. And Alex is like, and how, what do you mean? So not to give too much away, but, at one point he does scuttle up the wall. And again, I don't really know how he does that, because we'll see when this set that's not really a set, but there's lots of things that move, and there's a lot of sound, and there's a lot of from what I can see, what's available online, it's a great spectacle. So it's got this huge element, even though it's about something very personal and very moving, and it's got funny. It's very funny. It really got a lot of everything in it, and I think I know I'm excited.
This is great. First of all, I am so excited. I have read your adaptation. I've read the book. I am fascinated about this. Welcome to Broadway with the play. How do you feel?
I feel tremendously excited. I'm in New York, man. You can't get more exciting than that. This is a city that I grew up with in my imagination from when I was 4 years old. I learned to read reading Spider-Man comics. So as soon as I can remember language, I've imagined New York City. And to be here with my story and my play means the world.
Has it lived up to your expectations so far?
Well, I've been here a few times now, I have to say. It's not my first visit, and it always does. It's always fascinating. There's always an incredible energy. I'm staying down in the East Village, which is tremendously chic, and I'm kind of enjoying that. And you get out the subway on 42nd Street, and you're in town, man, and that's an extraordinary experience and completely energizing.
So tell me how this all came about for you to adapt.
I've made friends with Mark Haddon. Mark Haddon, who wrote the novel. He wrote the novel in 2003. We were on attachment at the National Theatre together. He was trying to write for theatre, and I was there for a year. And we made friends. We're very similar men. We're very similar ages. We're both fathers. I always say that we both secretly wish we were in rock and roll bands, and we kind of weren't. But maybe that's me rather than him. I don't know. I might be projecting that onto him. And we got on well together. And he was a fan of my plays. He came to see a few of my plays. I read his early plays and was really excited by what he was doing and loved his writing. And then one day, completely out of the blue, he rang me up and he said, "Look, Simon, I've just been approached for the 100th time for the theatrical rights of Curious Incident by somebody. I don't want to do it, and I've decided I want to take responsibility for how it's done. Would you do it?" And it was one of those phone calls that changes your life. It really, really does. But I think if I'd thought then about everything that was going to happen, I'd be paralysed. I wouldn't be able to do anything. So I said, "Look, mate, I will, as long as you let me fail, as long as you let me try and fail, as long as I'm not taking a commission, I'm not beholden to anybody." The National didn't know about it, Marianne didn't know about it, nobody knew about it apart from me and Mark. I said, "You let me have a go at it, and let's see how we get on." And 5 years later, I'm on Broadway. I think it's really important. I think that's really key. Because I think if we'd made this production with a sense that we were gonna take it to New York, or we were gonna put it on in the West End, or we were gonna take it to the National Theatre, we would have ruined it. I think the play comes from a sense of exploration and a sense of love, and it's because I wasn't taking a commission. I was just trying to see if I could do it, and I think audiences get that. I think audiences get a real sense of love and celebration in this play, and I think that comes from that very first phone call between myself and Mark.
See, I'm fascinated by that because there was no pressure on you to succeed. It was just you could be as creative as you possibly could be.
Yeah, I think it was absolutely essential. It was absolutely essential that I wrote without any pressure, because there are technical difficulties in any adaptation, and especially an adaptation of a novel which is so interior. You know, this whole novel is an excavation of Christopher Boone's incredible mind. And drama doesn't deal well with the interior, it deals with behaviour. It's the things that people do to each other. I think if I'd felt pressure in looking for that behaviour in the book, I would have been completely, my hands would have been tied behind my back. And because I had no pressure, I was just attacked the whole thing with a sense of let's just be daring. Let's try. Let's just have a go at it. I think that is infectious, and I think it remains in the production now, that sense of the daring and the sense of bravery.
Now let's talk about working with your director. I mean, the whole process so far, what's it been like and what do you admire the most about her?
She's my best friend. You know, in the simplest terms, she's my best friend. I think of her as being my sister. She's directed 3 of my plays so far. We're from the same town. We used to get on the bus together when we were school kids, and we only realised this recently. We only realised this just a couple of years ago. I remember her getting on the bus because she was a few years older than me, and she was the quite hot sixth form girl from the grammar school, and I was the gawky kind of geeky teenage boy. We see the world from the same perspective. I'm her daughter's godfather. I'm one of her husband's best mates, and she's Britain's best director. I mean, the simplest way of talking about it, the most economical way of talking about it, is to say that Marianne Elliott is the best theatre director in the UK, and I think she is. She's imaginative, she's incredibly democratic, there's a tremendous sense of play in her work, there's a tremendous sense of fun. Her rehearsal rooms are always creative spaces, they're always playful spaces, there's no fear, there's no pressure, there's just imagination and daring. And if you're going to tell the story of Christopher Boone, you need imagination and you need daring, and she's got it in bucket loads.
Beautiful. My final question is, what are you looking forward to the most with bringing this play to Broadway?
I'm looking forward to the possibility that New York audiences might fall in love with the mind of a boy from Swindon. I think he's got an incredible mind, and I think people in New York might just fall in love with him a bit.
Well, first of all, welcome back to Broadway.
Thank you.
How does it feel so far?
Do you know what? It feels wonderful. It's just so lovely to be here. My family are here with me as well. So we're like really embracing the New York experience. And I'm really enjoying working with the American actors.
Well, first of all, tell me about your history with Simon. You guys grew up together, right?
Yeah, we did. We didn't know it at the time. I mean, we lived about 3 streets away from each other. We only just worked it out. I think about a year ago, we worked out that we used to get on the same bus and wait at the same bus stop every day. And he was younger than me, so I don't really remember him. But I think he slightly remembers me. And then we went to school opposite each other. He was at one school, I was in the school literally opposite. And then we just started working together when we were, professionally working as a director and a writer. But we've just worked it out. It's extraordinary. And we've worked together loads, so we've only just worked it out.
But I love that story. It's like he said you've directed 3 of his plays or something. So then we figured this whole backstory that we sort of knew each other, but not knowing each other.
Yes. He had a very different upbringing from me, even though it was only a few streets away. But I think in lots of ways we've had the same upbringing as well. We really have a shorthand. We understand certain things because of that. And we both maybe come from the same place in terms of what we're exploring in our work.
Let's talk about this piece. I am fascinated. I read his adaptation, I read the book, and I've seen all these beautiful clips online. What attracted you to the project?
Do you know what I think attracted me to the project was a mad reason. I think it was because I thought it was so challenging. I mean, when I read the adaptation that Simon had done, I knew the book very well anyway, and I kind of thought, it's maybe not a good idea to adapt it. And he wasn't sure whether he could do it anyway, so he did it on the quiet. He gave it to me and said, what do you think? Just let me know. Nobody knows I've done it. Doesn't matter if you don't like it. And I read it, and I thought, I was actually incredibly moved. At the end, I couldn't understand exactly why, but I was really moved. So I had really been taken on a journey. And then when I started thinking about it a bit further, because I then had to do it, I thought, I don't know how to do it. I have absolutely no idea how we're going to do this. but it felt so exciting because it was such a challenge.
So what unlocked it all for you?
Well, I had some ideas, and we went into the National Theatre studio, which is a sort of like a rehearsal room that you can try things out. And we took some actors, and we took Simon, and we took the movement directors, Scott and Steve, and we tried stuff. We went, okay, we've got a week. There's no time rush on this. We're not about to open. What we're going to just try. Well, let's see whether this works, and let's see whether this works. And a lot of things did work, and some things didn't. But that really then influenced our decision on the design and the way that we were going to show Christopher's World. Yeah.
Now, I love the cast you've assembled for New York, and you like discovering Alexander right out of Juilliard. Talk about that.
I know. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, what an amazing thing. He was still at Juilliard when he got cast. Well, we saw a lot of boys, and we saw some brilliant boys as well. I think the thing about Christopher is the very particular demands. You know, he has to be physically very able, very in control, very expressive physically. He has to be young. He has to be brilliant at text because actually he's got more lines than anyone else and he's in every single scene. He also had to have a kind of innocence and a clarity of emotion. You had to be able to read him really well. And the thing about Alex is that he's got this kind of sort of earnestness to him, you know, and you just love him. When he starts speaking the words, you just think, oh yeah, I just want to get to know you, I want to be with you. So it was a quality that we just couldn't resist.
I love the way you work in the rehearsal room because everybody said, you know, the nuclear family was put together this past Monday for the first week, and then the other cast members will be brought in next week. That's brilliant.
Well, I feel like it's very importantly an ensemble piece. The whole ensemble tell the story together. And actually they're on the stage most of the time. Even if they're not in the scene, they're sitting on the edge, ready to jump in. But the relationship between Christopher and his mum and his dad and then his teacher are incredibly key. That's actually sort of at the centre of it all. And they're quite complex relationships as well because a lot of stuff happens off stage. A lot has happened before the play even starts. I mean, I think the dad has been through a 3-act drama before we even start the show. So we were just exploring that and improvising around that and discovering what the relationships really were.
My final question is, what are you looking forward to the most with bringing this play to New York?
I'm really looking forward to the rehearsal process, I think. I'm really looking forward to seeing how these incredible actors, I'm so excited about, really beyond excited, what they'll make of these characters. That's what I love most.